got to 0.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast. I guess we're 1 hour bang on 6 according to my phone. Does that mean are we on the radio again this week?
We are on the radio.
Hopefully you enjoyed that track from AC/DC there. Because I'm assuming that's pretty much all he plays, isn't he? Yeah. Or the Scorpions.
Is it hair metal?
I don't know. The news finished. We're talking over the news anyway. Welcome to the programme. It's
It should have been 3 of us.
Yeah, but
get well soon, Mr. Davidson.
Yeah. And James isn't here, but he might be next week. But he might not be. Oh, hang on. No, we can't say that yet now.
He is here, but he isn't here.
He's not here. And he's not there.
No,
or is he there?
He can't be there. He can't be there. But it hasn't been announced that he can't be there yet.
Welcome to 4020 Live. It's not announced who the chairman is yet, is it? Chair.
Well, yes. The chair that they thought it was going to be, it can't be. So they need a new chair. Would they like one of these?
I can see we've got spare chairs here.
We've got plenty of chairs.
Got the mastermind chair over there. We should use that, actually.
Got nice biscuits.
Ricciarelli.
I've no idea.
One of the players who's now looking for a job after Cornwall have closed. Oh. Good evening to all the people who started talking to us already. We'll get Cornwall out of the way because we finished recording.
Can we start with something positive?
What's positive?
Ashes tickets.
Headingley sold out. They should have played it at Ellen Road or any other number of stadiums that don't exist.
What we are led to believe before it's even gone on general sale is Headingley sold, including all the corporate.
Wow.
Bramley-Moore Dock, limited tickets available.
Yep.
Likely to sell out. Brilliant. Wembley expected to have a crowd of 50 to 60,000 or more.
It's positivity.
It's great.
I'm assuming that's in the papers and everything today, and everyone's excited about that because that's good news.
It sells us something about scarcity value.
Yep.
So we're going into a round of Super League this week, which is round 7, a repeat of round 2. Yep. What's the point? Make people aware that this is something that they should go to, an event, and they'll go. Build it and they will come, but don't play it every 15 minutes.
But it's not Great Britain, and Bobby Goulding says it should be Great Britain. So why did the Australians ring Bobby Goulding up? Have they got no numbers of any players who've played past the year 2000? Martin Offiah not answering his phone.
Presumably they didn't realise that he's part of this class action that's trying to sue the arse off the sport as well.
Oh, he was relevant still. I could get him a job on the BBC, because they usually employ people who haven't been relevant in rugby league for 20 odd years. That was a bit harsh. Cornwall.
Yes.
They've gone, which I don't want to say we almost set that up on Monday's
We were mentioning
we killed Henry Kelly a couple of weeks ago, now we've killed Cornwall. It's a bit disappointing. But there's 2 levels to this story, aren't there? There's the fact that the club doesn't exist anymore, which is obviously sad for the people involved.
Yes.
And then there's, I think as we almost got into last week, why did they exist in the first place? In that particular place and with no particular plan other than let's have a rugby league club in Cornwall.
But also, why play 3 games this year? And then decide... I mean, I know that they were talking to investors and they were probably hoping that before the season started, investors would come on board. Where have we heard that? Slightly higher up the league.
Tariffs on buying rugby league clubs, apparently.
And clearly that investment hadn't come through. But Mike Abbott told the BBC that the players were prepared to go to North Wales this weekend and look at it on a week-by-week basis if investment was still out there. I don't know, is it coincidental that we're having a strategic review of the game and they don't strategically offer anything? We're all very busy talking about whether the French teams bring anything and whether Welsh teams. I didn't know. North Wales. It's like Wales isn't on the agenda at the moment.
Is Whitehaven or Workington further away from everywhere else? Are they going to be next? Whitehaven next.
Wouldn't you be a bit annoyed if you were Whitehaven that you paid for a bus journey to Cornwall, which is 500 odd miles each way, and then the following week they decide they're not playing anymore?
Well, the rugby league family can do a GoFundMe and reimburse the costs.
I think with the shenanigans, which I think is quite a good word to describe what's going on off the field, I don't think we can ever use the phrase rugby league family anymore.
Dysfunctional one.
We're only interested in our relations.
Very much interested in ourselves.
Yes.
So Cornwall don't exist in
No, which is a shame for League One, because I think it's been the most competitive League One we've seen. I think Midlands Hurricanes is a fantastic story, that they're top of the league unbeaten. A really good win against Dewsbury this week. Probably the second best result after Cardiff Demons women this weekend. And Cornwall, unfortunately, because it was a pin in the map strategy, were always destined to fail. All the talk from their original owner of, we want to get local people playing for the team, which is what he said wherever he's been, and it can't happen if there is no infrastructure there, then I'm not surprised. But it's just another stick to beat rugby league with, that we can't ever do expansion properly.
And it's strange because there's been a lot of articles and tweets and whatever's people saying, oh, the RFL, why didn't they do this, why didn't they do that? They can't look after everyone, and
well, I would commend to you an interview that is genuinely exclusive.
An exclusive.
It's only going to be in one place.
Until they rip it off, yeah.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, as long as they credit it. Yeah.
With Simon Johnson, it's his final interview, having now left the RFL, and it will tell you in there about how interventionist the governing body can be, and that is at the behest of the clubs. So they couldn't have done anything in Cornwall. They were limited to what they can do in Salford. They can perhaps do things a little bit quicker, but they're absolutely limited to what they can do by the statutes that the clubs wanted put in place.
Of course, we start by talking about Cornwall and other things, and I guess there's no bye week now, so that's. But the question has been asked on this programme probably for 10 years now. What is League One? What is it? What's the Championship? What is Rugby League? What are we doing?
Why as a sport do we put expansionist clubs in League One and expect those who have the smallest distribution to travel the furthest distances?
It's a shame it didn't work, but
it is a shame it didn't work, but it wasn't going to work without some kind of local infrastructure. And when the Rugby League Conference was strong, it had a Southwest division, and there were about 6 community clubs down there that were giving opportunities and providing players who could have fed in to a Cornwall-based team. But we didn't put Cornwall there then. We put Cornwall as a semi-professional outfit on the whim of an owner who happened to have a share in the RFL.
Who's got that share now?
Well,
where's that share?
Where is that share now?
Can we buy it and then turn up at these meetings and say,
we'd like to table a resolution that the biscuit should be Ricky Arelli's.
Ricky Arelli's. Great striker for Cremonese in the 70s. So Cornwall have gone. League One is. They're not going to be replaced, are they? For next season, because now we've got an even number of teams.
Well, not in the strategic review that's going on for the next 3 months. But we were going for 12 teams in each division, weren't we?
So now we need 2 more.
We've started that process, and now that's out the window.
Well, we can invite all these teams that Rugby Union don't want, like Worcester Warriors. Although they've got let in without paying I don't know if they're going to pay the COVID ones. But. Carson says no club should be further than 20 miles away from the M62. That was sarcastic, he said afterwards, just in case our listeners didn't realise.
To be honest, very few clubs are more than 20 minutes.
So Cornwall drop out because they have no money. Will other clubs with no money also do likewise, says Paul?
It's a very good question, because one of the things I think is behind a lot of the machinations that are going on, and we shouldn't really talk too much about that because
we don't know.
We want to talk about what's on the field and not what's off it. But one of the thoughts behind it is natural wastage. So nobody's going to lift a finger to help a club that's in trouble, and they'll go, oh, well, that's eased the decisions that we need to make because there's somebody less that we need to think about now. And no, League One clubs didn't really like going there because part-time players find it very hard to take the time off to go. We don't like French clubs for that reason either. So what we'll do is we'll wait until they can't look after themselves, and then we'll go, oh, it just didn't work. That's not a strategy, as far as I can tell.
The extra funding that won't go to Cornwall, then the extra 25 quid they can share between themselves then, because there isn't that money.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in the future with League One, and we'll talk about the results later.
What I would say is Midlands Hurricanes and what they've done and how they've built, and Gould coming in, I think, again, is It's an M62 team, but there is a place for League One. I asked Paul Cook for his column. Did he see as part of this latest non-strategic review that the Championship and League One would amalgamate? Because again, it's something that's been talked about a fair bit, and he said it's a problem when Salford had to play all their reserves against St Helens. You could see the gap between where a fully professional team is and where teams that are coming in, players that are coming into the game are. If you asked at the moment some clubs that are towards the bottom of League One and developing to be going to places like Bradford and York and Featherstone every week, it would do more harm than good. There is a place for development, but whether it can be semi-professional, that's another argument.
And if Eric Perez had found another David Argyle to fund his lunacy, then they would be in the Super League now. Well, no, they wouldn't be in Super League because of IMG, but they'd have a chance of being in Super League because they'd have bought all the players that they were going to buy. And John Wilkie would be a Cornwall legend.
The people that don't get enough thought are the players and the staff. There's some people down at Cornwall that have done a really good job trying to get rugby league going. There's a guy called John Beach down there who was instrumental in a lot of the community work that was going on. Ken Stone, who came back to buy it, did it because he's a massive rugby league fan. Gareth Davis, who I think we've had on the programme, but certainly he was around in the World Cup as one of the volunteers on the media side. They're all really good people. The players that committed to playing down there. Some Aussies are playing for them this year that came halfway around the world in the genuine belief that there was a club there that it was worth them playing for. Those are the people we need to feel sorry for.
And of course, it was under the
support, not feel sorry for.
It was under the previous regime, the original regime, where they were going to have all their games in our league, and that suddenly stopped very quickly. So it's not as if we should be surprised that. But some people were held up as visionaries and whatever.
Weren't they going to be part of a revamped stadium and all that, which has never happened?
No, but we can. We're a Liverpool city. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. It's the Pro Biz World Club Challenge all over again. So nothing came out of the meeting on Tuesday between some people that everyone got excited about. So that was good.
I mean, again, there are some updates in the latest magazine, but I don't think we should use this time, unless people have got really specific questions and we know the answers, to talk about anything other than. I don't think it's been a bad weekend again for the sport.
All Andrew says is, do certain clubs want to say goodbye to the two French clubs? If so, why? Good evening, by the way. Well, if they do, and people know who they are, then they should name them. Because but we don't know.
I don't think it's even that. I think it's that if there is a plan to go to 14 clubs in Super League, and we can debate the merits of whether that's a good idea or not, or we could just ask the question, why did we go down from 14 in the first place? What's changed? But if they want to go to 14, then the cake or the pie becomes smaller. So how do you give the existing clubs what they've already got? You take it from somebody else. So already Catalan and Toulouse are paying for everybody to come to them. There is no cost for any club to play a French team. What I think they would like to do is take back their central funding and redistribute it amongst themselves, and then go back to the French and say, well, it's up to you whether you want to play in our competition. But you're paying for everything and we're giving you nothing.
Still to come, Saints in Crisis, because that's what this programme's like. We'll leave all the other stuff until later. We were at the women's launch on Tuesday.
We were.
In Lee. Lovely chips. Well done
triple cut.
Triple cut. I don't understand that concept.
But it was nice.
They were nice, yeah. Sandwiches were nice.
I had 2 lots.
Well, there were lots of chips there because there wasn't lots of meat.
It would have been rude not to.
After all those articles after Vegas about how this is how we're going to save women's rugby league and stuff, and they weren't there. It's very odd. What I did learn from Tuesday is the new superstar we have, who should be on the telly all the time, is Izzy Rowe, because she was up on stage speaking well. She spoke to us, and he's brilliant. 18. World at her feet and all that. Get her on the telly now.
NRL at her feet. Yeah.
Get her on the telly now, because she's got personality and she's a good player, and she could be a breakthrough star. I don't know how, but I've never heard her speak before. But there she is on stage, 18 years old, speaking in front of people, confidently, eloquently, exactly what rugby league needs.
I think there were two things that came out of it. One is opinion was divided over the value of Vegas, and that's a debate worth having. There were some coaches that were saying, "Yeah, we needed to go. You have to test yourself against the best." And there were others that saying, "I don't know why we went. It was always going to end like that. It's quite damaging. We've had to put our arm around the shoulders of some of the people that were playing in that and say, it was understandable." So that's quite an interesting debate. The other one is that there is clearly a division still between the top four teams and the rest. And there are some coaches that coach those top four teams that say, we're never going to catch the Aussies if we're only playing one really tough game every 3 weeks. At the same time, because we love a strategic review. Tom Brindle said, we're having our next strategic review into the women's game. We had a 10-year review when Super League started. It's just about coming to the end. We're having another one. We want to take opinion from all sectors of the game. It'd be really interesting how you resolve we need to roll out the women's game for more people to get involved, but we need to keep it tight to the top four teams if we're talking about standard.
Super 8s. Super 8s.
I'm just saying it's a really interesting debate, and you could tell in the room that nobody really had the answers, but it's at that sort of point where we need to have some really honest discussions.
But it was an interesting morning.
A great morning, and some of the kits are great.
Yeah.
Everybody speaks so well. We're very lucky that the coaches and the players in the women's game are great advocates for our sport.
We just need to get more people to tell their stories, and I don't know how we do that. I don't know how that happens.
I think you have to have more competitive games, and I get the group stage of the Challenge Cup, and I get that the big result for the weekend was Cardiff Demons Championship team just promoted to the Northern Championship, beating a Super League team,
comfortably beating a Super League team
away from home. That's the kind of shock you want in a cup competition. But what we know is virtually what the quarterfinals is going to look like. And we won't really get interested until the semi-finals. And the likelihood is we already know the draw of the semi-finals, and it's can York get to Wembley.
So Wigan beat Barrow 84-0. York won 56-0 away at Huddersfield. Sinead Peach is back.
Oh, good.
Cardiff beat Warrington 42-14 away from home. And on Saturday, Leeds beat Lee 46-4.
Newly promoted Lee.
I don't know where all the... where's the highlights? Where can I see the games? I need to see everything. I need to know what's happened. I need to be spoon-fed
individual clubs
this stuff.
have put out some highlights.
I need to be spoon-fed this. I know the RFL have got lots of things they need to do, but I need to be spoon-fed this stuff because this is a growth area of the game, and it's something we can actually sell to different audiences. Look, I've got Leeds kit here, and it's got a different sponsor on than the men's, and I think the wheelchair team's got a different sponsor on as well. So we need to see it. We need to see these exciting tries by players and such, and there's a bit of conjecture because the season launch video, which didn't get played at the launch because it broke, mainly features the top four teams in the competition. The problem is they're the ones we need to see on telly.
Well, we are the only games that are going to be featured by Sky and or the BBC this year will feature those top teams.
Now, I'm sure Huddersfield versus Warrington would be a close game because they're and Barrow and Lee and whatever, but
it's whether you can call it elite.
All the stars are all mainly, I'll say mainly just so I don't upset people, in one set of teams. And whether that's a problem with the format or whatever, you can't change it. You can't force players not to play at clubs they want to.
And they're not going to come halfway around the world, as I think Wigan now have 5 Australians.
They do, because it's easier to sign players from Australia.
Leeds have got a state of origin player. They're not going to come halfway around the world unless it is to play in a competitive team.
We saw Dennis Betts dancing. It was a TikTok thing, apparently. But now I've seen the actual video. He looks so uninteresting. It's brilliant. I don't know if that's part of the meme, but it's very funny because he's bought into it.
But he's part designed the shirt as well.
Yeah, it's
brilliant.
It's all buying. It's all
and the clubs that really get behind their women's teams. We go back again to what Castleford could have. This is what you could have won. Yeah. The clubs, as opposed to. It's just the team that wears the jersey of our club are going to be in the vanguard.
Why did Warrington's women not play Cardiff Demons before Warrington's men versus St Helens? I have to spell it out like that because it's a stupid question for me to ask, because the answer must be really complicated, because if I cannot understand why that would be.
Yeah,
Or play afterwards.
When you're on your own ground.
Or play afterwards. You can play
when
after.
all of your home supporters are leaping up and down because you've just knocked St Helens out of the
Play
championship.
afterwards.
No, it needs to be joined up thinking.
I know we're gonna have got we've been through that before. Anyway. There's now debate about where Cheshire is, and if it's more posh than anywhere else.
Well, I don't know if it's more posh than anywhere else, but it is posh.
Because Kevin says the south is too posh for rugby league. Not all bits of the south, I don't think.
And again, without knowing all the full details, next Tuesday, London is being relaunched at a very prestigious venue with plans as to how the game can make a big impact both at community level and hopefully fully Super League level in the future.
Gavin also says, imagine, especially the Southwest is too posh for rugby league. Imagine all the fans dressed like they're going to a fox hunt. Kevin, have you been to areas of North Yorkshire? Because, hearing...
Has he not heard of the Cornwall tin mines? They've got some blue-collar people there. That's why pasties were invented.
Yeah. Half savoury, half sweet. We're in the exciting part of Leeds, which is, the salubrious part, but some of this part... Well, this is the posh bit of Leeds, isn't it?
What, the north?
Yeah. It's like Italy. The posh bit's in the north, and it's like the reverse of England, isn't it?
I couldn't possibly comment.
So yes, it's a discussion now about Cheshire and what is it further to go to Cumbria than Cornwall, and so on and so on. It depends on the roads infrastructure and stuff. But well done, Cardiff. What a big win that is.
That is a big
win.
And the other thing is, having talked about how do we spread the game, if Cardiff can become virtually the best of Wales, then you would want to see them elevated into an elite more quickly, because they should have a bigger talent pool to fish in.
Our player, Olivia Williams, has scored again, but she didn't get player of the match this week, or Demon of the Day as they call it, which is a great name, because our new friend Freon the Tank Jenkins did. We need to bring back
She's
nicknames.
A great interviewer.
We need to bring back nicknames, because...
The Herminator.
Yeah. Derek Rocky Turner. Steve Knocker Norton, which someone mentioned on Blue Sky this week to me, which reminded me there was a girl at school called Knocker Norton, and we'd never heard of.
Right.
No. But it was.
No. Don't go there.
But where are the nicknames these days? Where are the characters? Oh, there's plenty of characters. This is the thing. And again, I was at the inclusion launch on Saturday. Why it was on Saturday, I don't know, but it was. So schlepped to Manchester. Got there early. Had a Wetherspoons breakfast. Wandered into this hotel. Chaos because it's full of rugby league people, all in kit, just wandering around. Wheelchairs and stuff. And that was a good, positive morning straight lunchtime of speaking to loads of people. There's still loads of content to come, so keep your eyes out for that, because the Wheelchair Challenge Cup's coming soon. Followed by Super League,
some
PDRL.
later than they expected, but we won't go there either.
Getting trouble. There's PDRL, there's LDRL, there's all these kind of things. We need to put pressure on the powers that be. Other podcasts will probably try to get people sacked or stuff. We're saying get the LDRL Super League thing at Wembley, because they want to go to Wembley. So get them at Wembley for England, Australia. We'll start the campaign here. All our campaigns have been 100% non-successful so far.
Other than Cornwall disappearing after we said, what's the point of Cornwall? Which wasn't a campaign.
No.
Just an unintended consequence.
It's great fun at the launch on Saturday. Spoke to Freya Levy, hopefully England international coming up.
She's good. We like her.
She's getting involved in wheelchair bobsleigh apparently.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure on the lead. I'm assuming
will that be 5 sports?
I'm assuming you just get shoved in a bobsleigh and pushed down, and that's it. You just steer it a bit. so she's mad. But
in a very likeable way.
She was in good form hosting on the stage, and it was a very enjoyable day. And as I said, there's all that stuff to come. So if you haven't seen any of the videos yet from it, make sure you do.
And as a sport, we talk about inclusivity, we talk about diversity. We don't really define it. This coup, there's obviously been push back about we're too inclusive and diverse, and we certainly don't want any women involved, and that's led to some of the issues that we're not talking about. Yeah. But when we get it right with PDRL, LDRL, wheelchair, which no other sport is doing or can do in the way that we do it, and South Sydney wheelchair team made their debut this weekend, beat Parramatta. It's a great way of spreading the footprint of the sport amongst the whole community.
I just enjoy the sitting and talking to people, because you ask questions and you don't really know where you're going to go. When you speak to, say, Sam Burgess, you're going to say, Sam, it's your second season in charge, what are you going to do?
Don't ask him about Vegas.
Don't ask about Vegas. Did you enjoy your night out with Derek Bowman? That kind of thing. Whereas, right, so who's next? Who's going to come and talk to me? I don't know. And they end up talking about wheelchair rugby league in Hereford. Well, Hereford's not a rugby league town.
But
Edinburgh.
This is where
how's the team end up in Edinburgh?
This is where our footprint can extend without wholly reliant on a Cornwall running team.
Conor Blackmore made his debut playing wheelchair rugby league in the World Cup for Scotland because they ran out of players, and he was there as a volunteer. And now he's the captain of Edinburgh, and we'll see him in the Super League this year. That's a kind of a story which there's a negative element about it, but when you think about it, that's funny. That's a great story.
But
that's great. They ran out of players.
It's opportunity,
and now he's a player.
There's something for everyone.
I mean, I can only hope that at some point.
Those of us that don't
exactly. I can only hope at some point this season a team runs out of players to get a game. That'd be great.
We could play Masters.
What, Masters wheelchair?
No, Masters rugby league.
No. The crowds were all good this weekend. Kevin says, must be the biggest crowds for the Cup quarters for years. Over 10,500 at Warrington. The crowds at Hull, fantastic. I'm not sure what it was in the south of France, but yeah. I think there was over 6,000 at Wakefield on Friday as well for an all pay gate, as all these games are. So to see the same fixture as seen the week before, same for Warrington and St Helens, but a couple of weeks before. So it was good.
I think the whole attendance was the biggest quarter-final fixture since 1988.
Which, when people tell us that the old days were the best and everything, that's quite interesting. Obviously, it helps that it was the derby, but still,
it helps going into that game that Hull were resurging. The story around Hull KR now is not are they going to be a good team, but when are they going to get rewarded for being a good team? So that's moved that narrative on. And if we're going to move into the quarterfinals, might as well start with that one. The game didn't live up to everything else, but everything else was bigger than the game. So the atmosphere was fantastic. The fact that we could show to the nation at prime time on a Saturday afternoon that our game looked healthy was fantastic. Yes, clearly there was some skill there that we admire. It wasn't really a contest though. I think at 30-0 we knew that whilst Hull had come back against Wigan, the same wasn't going to happen against Hull KR. Yet individually, Jez Litton coming off the bench to replace injured Mikey Lewis. Brilliant.
And now does he get in the England squad? Because we've got to talk about the Ashes, you see. It's great, isn't it? It's another talking point. I mean, it's pointless because we're not
Hull KR starting lineup. But, I thought so many things to admire. Herman SA, has committed himself to Hull. He's a character. Scores a great try. The acrobatics of Tom Davis to get in at the corner. All of the things that are good about the sport, we can admire. The first 20 minutes was riddled with mistakes. The next 20 minutes, Hull KR dominated. Hull hit back, but never close enough for you to really think they were going to overturn it. And it was a great event.
Unfortunately, where we've gone wrong is we didn't have a parachutist land and get stuck, because that gets more headlines than good rugby, apparently. But
I don't know what gets headlines anymore.
No.
Three of the games finished from the same score, which I can't imagine that's ever happened before.
Now that the Rugby League project have got the scoregami things done, we can have a look and see how many times that score has happened.
But I don't think three out of four ties have all finished the same.
I always think games going to finish either 8 or 14 point difference. So you've got 3 8s there, 20-12 in 3 games. It's a shame it couldn't be 40-20 because that would be obviously great publicity.
But the Hull KR game was the one that wasn't going to
end. Leon Price, who should be asking the BBC for a fee, the amount of time he was shown in the stands, not happy with the length of time over video referee decisions, as a lot of people aren't.
Same debate going on in soccer at the moment about VAR.
It's it's well, we've spoken about this when James is in, haven't we? We want to get it right, and the problem is if a video referee feels that they're rushing a decision,
yeah,
and gets
I think
it wrong,
the argument
sometimes
is, can I just see another angle? It's like, no, it's definitive. You don't need to see another angle. Can we go back to the first angle again? You know, you've seen that angle, and as an entertainment and keeping the action flowing, I still think we look at things too often. But you're not going to disinvent it.
No,
sadly.
The Pandora's box has been opened.
Yes.
Chris says the Hull derby had parallels to the Vegas game in terms of build-up and how it ended up. Yeah, so
I think that's fair.
A good
comment.
Good way of looking at it.
I also think that the interest in that game now rolls into Easter. Now, I'm not a big fan of playing the same fixture too, but there's nothing you can do if it's a cup draw. But I don't think it's dampened the enthusiasm for the fans of those two teams to now want to see that. I think was it today they announced over 19,000 tickets.
I was going to say, if
have
it's
already
not
been
sold
sold.
out, it's close to it, and the Wigan Saints game has sold out.
So there is a spillover effect, and I think we should congratulate both of the Hull teams for contributing to that. It looked and sounded fantastic.
So crowds are up. The action on the field's good.
I mean,
by and large, I mean,
I think if you analyse where we are now, we've had many more positives on the field than negatives, and a lot of the games, most weeks, are edge of the seat stuff. Uncertainty of outcome was what we were talking about. I think was it the strategic review before this one that we wanted more uncertainty of outcome. We're getting that.
Yeah, Simon Johnson is having to speak to you.
Well, it doesn't have to.
How many more pages would that have needed if they hadn't had a coup? We'll have to write some more stuff.
Three
and a bit pages.
Yeah, it's over 2,000 words.
I mean, I write over 800, but a lot of it doesn't make it in.
In fact, it's probably nearer 3,000 words.
Look out for that in shops this week. It's green. It's up in the corner there. We'll have it in the studio next week. It was. I mean, it's a shame Hull. I'm not saying it didn't turn up. That's unfair because Hull KR are just very, very good. I just think that is a measure of Hull's improvement to be, in an event like that, and people genuinely think they've got a chance. And where Hull KR at the moment, who are the best team in Super League. So, I thought the result was. There was a positive for both teams. Hull KR, particularly that they've now got through to be 80 minutes away from Wembley. Hull, they've got a benchmark. I'll vote for Try of the Week on the Our League app, and I won't bother because it won't be any Waverds. Kevin says, as Big Sam says, let's move on from Vegas. No, it's going to mention it forever.
He did say it at least 2 or 3 times to march out.
But it happened. The Vegas happened. I saw it on the telly. It's a thing that happened.
Yeah, I think because it was the BBC,
they hadn't talked about
it. And there's somebody who's been in Vegas. Tell us about the impact of it. I've moved on from Vegas. Don't ask me about Vegas again because we didn't win. No. I'll take you around the back.
I was at motorbike with Derek. How was that? See, they did let me into Lee last week. I know people were concerned I might not be allowed in, but Derek was obviously in Batley or wherever. So.
Well, no, I think the Super League clubs met the day before, but let's not let the truth get in the way of a good story.
The only red thing, says Paul, I can think of that's worthwhile seems to be the Capitals' Red Robins, and they have gone bobbing along into the semi-finals, where they'll play Catalan Dragons. We don't know where that is yet, do we? They haven't announced.
York.
Oh, is it York?
I don't know if it's been announced yet,
but and the other one's going to be in St Helens, not Doncaster.
It's not going to be in Doncaster.
No. But people are upset that it's in Doncaster, even though it's not in Doncaster.
It's not in Doncaster.
No. They want to go shopping at the lakeside or whatever.
One team from Cheshire and one team from Greater Manchester do not have to travel.
I know people think the RFL are thick and everything, but they're not that bad. They do some things. I'm not going to send people to Doncaster if they don't have to go. Andy says KR haven't played a decent team yet. What about Wakefield? Let's see.
They've got Wigan on Friday.
Where they are to play, Wigan and Warrington. Well, and that's exciting, isn't it? Friday night game.
I'm not sure you can level that charge at them either, because I just think they're building on year,
Yeah.
and they don't have to be at their best now. All you can do is win the games that are put in front of you. They've won the games. They are the only team that has won every game, so they are clearly doing something right.
They're not saying Alan Reynolds, are they?
No.
Will Price, first game for Hull, thrown into the Lions' den.
Brave call, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because whichever way it goes, you can say afterwards, well, he got that wrong,
Well,
or he got that right.
They'd lost Cade Cust, hadn't
so
they?
they had to,
So somebody had to play in that position, and I don't think he let them down in any way.
No.
But the forward packs were not evenly matched. The one thing I did think was interesting was that Hull Cow have got a really good bench, and they used it earlier than Hull. So Hull left their props on a little bit longer, and as they started to tire, people like Tanganoa and Whitbread made a massive difference. Lytton clearly. I thought Hull Cow had a better and used it better bench. But you can't expect Will Price to weave his magic when, after about 20 minutes, his forwards are not going forward as much as the opposition's are.
He's just flown into the country. He can't...
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's a great signing. And, you mentioned Jez Lytton, it's Ash's year, he might put pressure. Well, Will Price will be wanting to be considered by Sean Wayne come the end of the year.
Hull, this week, are at Warrington on Saturday afternoon on the BBC. Followed by Castle at 8 o'clock. Why are they playing at 8? Again. I don't know. Friday's games in the Charge Cup, unless there's anything else from Hull we need to mention.
Not unless, again, anybody wants to ask. I just thought, as an event and an occasion, it was exactly what we're striving for. A stadium that had fantastic atmosphere, looked because it was almost full, and a game that had enough talking points to keep you interested, even though you knew who was going to win.
Kevin's asked about the Tom Amon thing. I mean, if Warrington want him, they'll have to pay a pretty penny, because Hull don't need to sell, and they've got someone with quite a lot of money in charge. They don't need the money either.
He's not. Amon's gone back to the NRL, hasn't he? So if they're prepared to release him, it depends whether there's a fee or not attached. But I suspect his preference would be to go back to Lee, unless the money offer is humongous.
What am I thinking of?
But we've got a salary. You're thinking
I've
of John
Asiati, yeah. Plays beginning with A. So that's confusing. I don't know why.
Who played for Lee?
Yeah. And of course, Paul asked before, surely they'll play the KR semi at Hull FC? I'm guessing it might not be available, and it would upset Hull. So.
Yeah.
Even though they don't own it.
I think they would need to move away from football grounds, because aren't we at that, we're almost at the last week of the season.
Yeah.
The games will be moved, and all that kind of thing. So I would say stick with your own stadium as best you can, which is why I think York it's different, because they're not a member of the 92 anymore.
Yeah.
And Saints is our own rugby league ground.
Catalans Salford. I've seen nothing of this, so I don't know. Catalans won.
I listened to the call.
The call
Of the great Steve Mascourt.
He was there, wasn't he? He
was there in person. Who didn't seem to think the first try had been scored.
Oh.
There wasn't a video referee, which again is an anomaly in that.
Yeah, we've got the Captain's Challenge that suddenly appeared in the Challenge Cup now.
But also in
But I don't know if it was at Wakefield where they...
3 of the 4 games you did have a video referee in a Captain's Challenge, and 1 game you didn't. That seems odd. But I think Salford again put up a really creditable display from Steve's commentary. It seemed that Catalan came out at the beginning of each half and scored their points, and then ground their way to victory. They're in the semi-finals. You know, what a great story it would be that, as we're talking about whether we should have Catalan in the competition, they go all the way.
Maybe they could win the cup and then just keep it, never give it back.
Well,
like
or they could do a brast off, and when they go up to collect the cup, go right. Yeah, exactly.
Stick 2 fingers.
One of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah, stick 2 fingers.
And that last soliloquy is brilliant.
We don't know who's going to present the cup yet. So
Luke Littler.
Luke Littler off of the darts.
And
David Baines MP is the chair of the thing. Did we do okay on that interview? I think it was okay. I think people have learned things. Yeah. Didn't ask about politics. No point asking about politics. But we're kicking Catalans out. But Salford, they don't exist. They're a basket case. Where's their owners? What's going on? So I read the chicken wing thing. No one's talking. No one... Where's the RFL now? The RFL, we had to kick everyone out of the RFL to bring some more people in, and nothing's changed. Everything's still the same.
The interesting thing, I think, from reading between the lines of what Paul Rowley said in the lead up to the Catalan game, was he expects things to have happened by mid to end of April. And clearly he would have more inside knowledge than those on the outside speculating on what may or may not be happening. But if they don't get paid on time in April, I think there'll be more concern. What we do know is they will last till the end of the season.
Yeah.
They will be propped up to complete all of their fixtures, even if that means the game paying the players' wages. What happens after that, I don't even think you could properly speculate about at the moment. But Salford will complete the season. There may well be one or possibly two more players who leave. If they do, it may involve deals with players going the other way. But they exist. They're playing on Thursday night.
Gary Neville could buy them like his football club.
Well, I think he wants his football club to move there, doesn't he?
Well, his football club aren't very good, that's the problem.
Are they not?
Well, the strange thing about Salford's football club is, you know when people say, well, the problem with Rugby League is we don't have a team in Manchester. So we don't have a team in Manchester, but we've got Salford, we've got Swinton, which is almost Manchester, and Wigan, which is almost Manchester, and Rochdale and Oldham, which is almost Manchester, so it's like all around that bit of
And
Manchester. Salford City exists as a football club. And they've got two of the biggest football clubs in the world next door to them as well, playing the same thing. So at least we're playing a different sport. But I don't know. Pete Postlethwaite from Warrington as well, says
Great actor.
Andy. Get a statue up for him as well.
Great actor. Brilliant actor.
The conspiracy theorists went nuts, says Gav. They don't want Salford in the Cup due to their problems, alongside they don't want Catalans in because they're French. So, whatever. But Steve McNamara said
all I would say is, how many conspiracy theorists are there?
Well,
there aren't that many. It's just they're very vociferous.
Was the Catalans ball the hot one or the cold one when they pulled it out? Was that Stuart Pearce's fault or John Wilkins' fault?
And again,
well, we'll just blame John Wilkins because it'll get more
on
clicks.
that draw. Thought Stuart Pearce was magnificent, but why did he only get 15 seconds? Surely it would have been better talking to Stuart Pearce, who is known beyond rugby league, for a little bit longer about his passion for Warrington and being able to do the draw, and the first 40 minutes that he just watched where he alluded to his health issue and said it didn't do me any good. Talk to him about rugby league for a little bit longer than just getting him down to do the draw.
I mean, I can only hope during the coverage of the Masters this week that John Wilkins pitches up and talks about rugby league for half an hour, or yeah. Rory McIlroy.
Yes, talks to Rory about his love of rugby league.
When's the 1895 Cup draw anyway?
It's not on here.
No, it's not here.
We can exclusively reveal. Still
to come, Saints and Warrington. Wakefield 12, League 20. Again, I've only seen highlights, but well done whoever decided to pull the plug and say, we're going to make you pay £8 to watch this, because that's what we should be doing with all these games that are not part of your deal.
Yeah.
Get people paying for them, that's good. Get people into the habit of paying for them. I know it's an extra cost, but
no,
if the people with the fire sticks, the dodgy fire sticks, as Mr. Wilkie mentioned on the telly the other week,
you can't disinvent them.
No.
But I think you're right. If you put an offering out there at the right time, at the right price, people will pay to watch it. And that is the whole basis of the television deal in Australia, which is apparently going to be worth $3 billion.
Wow. How much is that on the exchange rate? About 5?
Well, yesterday it was $3 billion. Today it's about 1.5.
You make Wigan, Salford, Swinton, Oldham all amalgamated as Manchester. I have no issue, says Andy. It's all Manchester. It's all Greater Manchester. It says it's like Bradford and Leeds are the same place. There's no grass between Bradford and Leeds. You leave one place, you get on the bus, you go to it goes through
Pudsey.
that Pudsey. That's like the that's Checkpoint Charlie, isn't it? Go through the wall and let you in. Apparently Wakefield, it was all down to Josh Rope. It was his fault that Wakefield lost. He tried something, it didn't come off. If it had come off, he'd be a genius.
Yeah,
but it didn't come off, so we lost.
He'd scored a try.
Yeah.
Where he was getting all the plaudits. Great backing up. Ollie Pratt again. Dropped a high kick and then a missed pass. But Wakefield still had probably 75 minutes to overcome those.
No, it's his fault. That's how it works. Powell out. It's daft. I'd rather see players try something and it not come off than just be boring and do 5 drives and a kick.
And that detracts from Lee's performance.
Yeah, again, they've turned around a 20-odd point deficit from the week before to win, and they're through to the next round of the Cup. And it's not as if Wakefield have lost to someone who's no good. You know, they've lost to another...
This time last year, Wakefield was starting to build a team to compete in a higher division. They are now in that division and have competed really well so far this season. As we've said, how do you rescue and revamp the Challenge Cup?
Yep.
You can't, because by the time it gets to this stage, it's a tough Super League game. And, you know, Wakefield are not used to playing Super League week in, week out. They've got 1 or 2 injuries in key positions. They are doing really, really well. And they just weren't good enough because Lee were better than them.
Newcastle aren't in the Cup anymore. Can't play Newcastle in the Cup. Or goal again.
And
Wakefield can't win at home though either, which is worrying. But it's also good because Wakefield will go to St Helens this week and win. So.
And then have they got Castaway at Easter?
No, it's at home.
Oh,
so it's if they don't win that one, then that is really Powell out. That's it.
No.
We're going nuclear on Bellevue. Knock it all down. Give up. It's but well done to Lee. And that's a fascinating semi-final against Warrington now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got
absolutely
a team who's been to Wembley in the last couple of years and won. You've got the team who were there last year and came up short against Wigan.
Yeah.
What has changed in the last 12 months?
That's a really mouth-watering clash.
So 2 interesting semi-finals because Catalans, even though they're out of form, you can't write them off because we know that in the way that people wrote off Hull Chiara ahead of the game against Warrington in 2015 and then Warrington...
I seem to remember in 2018 that Catalan were not in form and then produced a magnificent display to beat Saints in the semi-final.
The form book goes out of the window, brackets, in derbies and the Cup. So, you know, get those cliches in. I'll get a job on the telly one day.
Again, you look at the personnel that Catalan have got, they'll be up for a big occasion.
It's all exciting. Obviously, people now just want to talk about the border between Leeds and Bradford and amalgamating all of Greater Manchester. We've become a geography podcast. Now we've got rid of Cornwall, which is miles away.
Now we've got Leeds and Bradford Airport.
Yeah.
The whole lot should become as one.
I'm going there in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to it. Not
New terminal.
Yeah. On my
don't take any baggage.
No, I've got a little green bag, so to speak. Which is going...
Don't eat or drink on the plane.
No, it's only green because I think if it's Ryanair they might let me on because it's green, but we'll see. And then I'll be back to talk about beach rugby. Hopefully watching the Magic weekend in Magaluf, which will be an experience.
Yeah, get people to turn the bar tellies to Magic Weekend and download
the podcast while we're going
number one in Spain.
On Sunday, it was Warrington 20, St Helens 12 in a score familiar to millions. Saints in... Right, let's go through all these comments. Just all Saints in crisis, Saints in crisis, Saints in crisis. I mean, that's what John Kay has put, hashtag Saints in crisis. Fourth in Super League, Saints in crisis. Saints have gone 13 games without beating the top 3 from last season, says Andy. Lost every game versus Wigan, Hull KR and Warrington.
Because they're not as good at the moment as those 3 teams. I'm not going to make excuses for them.
No, because we've got to praise Warrington, otherwise we'll upset all the Warrington fans and Sam.
Quite unfortunate having 3 HIAs, 2 of which get failed in a game. And the winning try comes from a forward defending in a centre's position because the centre's gone off for the HIA. They weren't a million miles away. But
they lost, and they're not in the Cup anymore.
You don't get second chances in the Cup.
So that's another chance of silverware gone.
Jack Wellesby was magnificent. The 2 try-saving tackles he made. You can ask, how did Matty Ashton get through twice? What was the defensive pattern there that allowed him to get through? But Wellesby's reading of that, the first one where he shepherded him to the touchline and had the timing and the speed to get him, and the second one where, in the end, Ashton almost gave himself up to Wellesby because his positioning was so good. I thought he was brilliant. And if we're talking about the Ashes, then Jack could cause some problems for the Aussies. Hope he's fit come the end of the season.
And we hope Michael Lewis is fit as well.
Yeah.
Because that's 2 injuries now he's picked up this year. But
I don't think Tristan Saylor has fully integrated into his partnership with Johnny Lomax at the moment. They clearly are missing a strike centre, especially when Percival went off. But obviously Conrad Hall hasn't been fit at all this year. It's all excuses, I know, but I don't think they're in crisis. I don't think they're as good as they have been, but I'm not sure that constitutes a crisis.
Kevin says, why deserve the win but only just? Thomas says, Saints kicking really poor.
Mm-hmm. So late on in the game, Saylor kicked cross field, and it was one of the worst kicks on a last tackle when you've got to pull something special out the bag. Just gave away a 7-tackle set under no pressure whatsoever. That is an area that they've got to be better at. But isn't that why they brought Lee Breers in?
Well, yeah, that's what...
Because he seems to have been exonerated.
That was the narrative at the start of the season,
because it's all Paul Welland's fault. But it will come.
Now, Danny Maguire's been blaming the players, hasn't he? And it's been said, eventually you can't blame the players because then they'll turn on you and then that's it. Paul Welland's doesn't, does he? He's always in with close. And the numbers would say they are. I mean, people will watch Saints close now do like Liz, who says, Paul Wellens, for the love of Shaking Stevens, please go. You're like a stuck record repeating the same comment over and over again. Is he doing it to take heat off the players? Is he far away from the truth? Well, that's the wrong thing to say. Is he far away from what he's saying from what we're seeing on the pitch? Are Saints fans too...
I think the problem is that every time there's a defeat, he tries to put a rosy-ish spin on it. And fans, when they've paid their hard-earned, aren't really interested in philosophy or how close. They just need their team to win.
Which is why we blame the referees.
And I get that. But I'm not sure they're a million miles away. And there are, what was the stat? That it's 35 years that Wigan, Saints, Leeds and Bradford haven't been in a semi-final. Maybe it's time for the Lees and the Hull KRs and to shine.
Well, we can't always say, it's always the same teams, and then no, it's not the same teams.
Yeah, we want uncertainty of outcome. We want new names on the trophies or different names on the trophies, as long as it's our team.
Yeah, as long as it's ours. Yeah, as long as we're beating Hull KR in the final.
So I get the frustration of Saints fans because they've just been through a period of unbelievable glory. Funnily enough, I know another team that did that isn't playing as well as it was in that era at the moment. But it is cyclical. It is how it goes. When you lose players of the calibre of James Roby, they are irreplaceable. And it's not just about what they can do on the field. It's about what they bring off the field into that group. And it's immeasurable and unquantifiable. But if you haven't got it, you haven't got it. And it's more than the ability of a player. It's the ability of a player to bring out the best in all of the players around them.
Phil says, and he's a Salford fan, so he's neutral on this. Saylor is a fullback playing in the halves. The big boppers are going after him all game, and he's not used to defending there.
And he's not used to Super League at the moment either. He's played 7 games. Kyle Felt not available for 10 weeks. They haven't got out the players in the positions that they want them at the moment. That happens. It's happened at Wakefield this week, but nobody's calling for Darryl Powell's resignation.
Not yet.
Nor should they.
Not yet.
Nor should they. So I get the frustration of the Saints fans. I don't get some of the why.
Wyatt were always in control, says Andy. So.
I think the only time they weren't was there was a slight period at the beginning of the second half where you thought Saints have really got a chance here. They've weathered a big storm and if they can come out the other side of it, they might go on and win. But Warrington did everything they needed to do to win a cup tie. And in people like Matty Ashton, I think his 2 breaks in the second half were absolutely crucial. Just when it looked like Saints were getting some territory, they found themselves scrambling to defend 60, 70 metres away from where they were, and that turned the game. And George Williams' ability to spot that if you get the ball to me early, I've got a second rower I can go round on the outside. But Warrington did everything they had to do to win a cup tie, and you can only credit them for that.
They could be second in the table come the end of the weekend.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
Depending on how the results pan out this weekend.
But I don't think you can say, until they played their semi-final, how they're doing compared to what they were doing last year.
Andy says, put Wellesby in the halves. John says, Saints recruitment isn't good enough. Sailor was always going to be a round peg in a square hole. 2 sixers in him, and Lomax, neither of whom is a last tackle kicker. Should have signed Mark Sneyd. That seems to be the problem for Evans.
He has made an enormous difference. Was it now 3 games that he's played? They've won them all.
Yeah.
A lot of it is down to just the very basic being able to kick your way out of trouble in a manner where you almost become programmed to him leading the team around the park, and to do that within 3 weeks when he's unfamiliar with the players around him, but they bought into what he can bring and what he can do and how they have to chase, and brilliant. And we shouldn't forget that, you know, Warrington don't particularly want to be playing Ben Curry in the centres at the moment. Yeah, and they've gone with a bigger pack, with James Harrison playing at loose forward. It's working for them at the moment. The semi-final is the next acid test for Warrington.
May 10th and 11th, aren't we? Don't know which game's on which day and so on and so forth. But
I suspect Holcow might be Sunday.
Yeah, that makes more sense, doesn't it?
Because they'll deem that Warrington Lee is the game that the bookies will tell them is closer.
That's Fred.
Not geographically closer.
Yeah. Before we move on to League One, let me see what comments have come in. It's always good to see Saints in crisis, says Kevin. Paul says, crisis is such a silly word when you consider that both Salford and St Helens are both supposed to be in crisis.
It's a very different type of crisis.
It was always a joke. Leeds in crisis was always a joke. That's why we got T-shirts made up. But now it's become a thing. So like everything, we can't stop these things becoming things, and then they just run off, like Pyongyang. League One. Hurricanes at the top of the table. They beat Dewsbury 46-12.
Unbeaten.
They're a success story.
Is it because we asked their coach to write a column in the magazine?
It must be. It must be.
We're taking credit.
It must be, because as we'll come to in a minute, Featherstone also won as well this weekend. Keighley 14.
So did Bradford.
Yeah, Swinton 18
columnists.
In the Alan Kilshaw derby.
Swinton came from behind very late to win that as well.
Rochdale 24, Workington 34, and Whitehaven 66, Newcastle 6. So after last week was saying, they might score 100. They didn't score 100, so well done Newcastle on not conceding 100 points.
But again, as a sport, how are we supporting Newcastle? Yeah. It's close enough to our traditional areas. We play Magic Weekend there. What is the strategic plan to support Newcastle? Because again, they look to me like they're out on a limb.
So I'm assuming the clubs must make money off Magic Weekend. Otherwise, they would have scrapped it like AMG suggested. Otherwise,
it's not much, but they do make some.
Well, it's enough then, isn't it? 1895 Cup. Bradford 36, Sheffield 20, Featherstone 34, London 6.
Featherstone's best result of the season.
Oldham 38, Barrow 24.
Brilliant that Oldham are 80 minutes away from a place they've never been to.
Nenny McDonald's Oldham.
But he's only on loan. Because when it was
I saw the headline and I didn't click the email.
He's gone on loan for 3 weeks.
Because I don't read, you know. And York 39, Widner 6. Well, that's a surprise. Not necessarily the result, but the width of the margin of the result.
And the fact that York lost their opening 3 games of the season, and now
they're back.
Back. Mark Applegarth, 80 minutes away from Wembley.
So that'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's hope he gets there. We don't know who the draws yet, so.
I think the great thing about the 1895 Cup, and we've been champions of it since it was instituted. In fact, we take no credit for this, but we did call for how do you reinvigorate the Challenge Cup? You split it between full-time and part-time teams. Effectively, the 1895 Cup, for virtually every team that is in it, is their best and only route to Wembley. You can imagine, and I'm just going to pick 2 teams completely at random. If it's Bradford Featherstone at Wembley, that's 8,000, 9,000, maybe 10,000 more fans at our event.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 teams that are desperate to be on the big stage, and the only way they can do that is in the 1895 Cup. It deserves a huge amount of support and respect.
Karen says, would Widnes have to get rid of their artificial pitch if they came up? I don't think so. I think pitches are
Depends what pitch it is. There's certain types of artificial pitch that wouldn't qualify, but I think even at a lot of the Super League grounds now, there is an element of artificial within their grass as well, so it depends what kind of pitch it is.
He's also hoping Warrington get another big forward so they can trouble Wigan.
Well, that's why they're after Tom Amon, I think.
Fixtures this week. Thursday, Salford Leeds. Did I see that a couple of weeks ago? And your man got knocked out and stuff, and everyone got excited. Yeah,
he's out for a month. Your man,
Brodie Croft.
Well, this round 7 is the repeat of round 2, so we've seen all of these games before.
Friday, don't watch Hull KR and Wigan or St Helens Wakefield. Watch Hunslet and Halifax. You're standing in the Championship because it's different. Not, mind you, Halifax probably they'll probably win that one, won't they?
Hull KR Wigan will be fantastic.
It will be
really good. Cannot wait.
Oh, next week it could be Paul Wellens' Genius Coach programme, or the same people saying the same things about him. So we'll see. Saturday night, as mentioned, Warrington Hull FC. It's on the BBC, which I only know because I think they mentioned it on the BBC this week. But you can also watch it on Sky in case you know. And
watch every game on Sky.
Yeah, Castleford Lee following at 8. I don't know how that goes. No, I do, don't I? In the Women's Challenge Cup on Saturday, St Helens versus Warrington.
St Helens' seasonal debut.
And having beaten them in a friendly before the season by 60-odd points.
And Warrington having now lost at home to Cardiff. You would think that might be a big score.
And Sheffield versus Leeds, which I'm tempted to go to, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Which is followed by Sheffield versus Toulouse, which does not kick off at 6, but kicks off at 3.
Does it?
It does. I'm sure it does.
So what time does the women's game kick off?
12:30.
Right.
Because otherwise there'd be a big gap between the two.
Yes.
I don't think you need that bigger gap.
Or there'd be 2 games playing at the same time.
Yeah. And London versus Batley at 5. Would that be? Oh, so it's next. It's not next. Not this week. Is New London. It's the week after. It's New London.
It's the last old London.
So London, forward-looking into the future, Australian-backed London versus Batley.
Whose chairman was just fined £1,000 for abusing a match.
Yeah, that's a bit naughty, wasn't it? We need to talk about. Let me finish these fixtures before I forget.
There's something else I want to mention.
Right, Huddersfield
Apart
Catalans.
from there's too many adverts now on X, so stop it, Mr. Musk.
He's still sorting out Marty Zelda's account.
Kill it.
Huddersfield versus Catalans in the Super League. Also on Sunday, York versus Fev in the Women's Challenge Cup. London versus Wigan in the Women's Challenge Cup.
That'll be interesting. Debut.
Oldham Fev in the Championship. Widnes Barrow, York Doncaster, and that's it. Apparently, there's no League One this week.
There are no League One fixtures this week.
You have to check. Never too sure. What's with all these people going and annoying referees?
There's no excuse for it.
No.
Anybody who has been fined and admitted abuse of or bursting into a match official's room, you're a disgrace. I'm sorry, there's no excuse for it. I don't care how emotionally involved you are in a game. Ian Blease should not have been in or around the referees at half time. Matt Peake should not have been going into a match official's room post-match. I don't care who they are. Kevin Nichols is a very, very well-respected man in the sport. You don't need to be going anywhere near match officials. If you think that the match officials have been the reason why your team may or has lost, you've lost track of what you need to do as a coach or a chairman of a club. And we like all of these people. I think Ian Blease is a really good bloke. I think Matt Peake is one of the most eloquent coaches we've got. And Kevin Nichols has done a hell of a lot to turn Batley into the best community club they can be. All of you are wrong. And have now been fined and have apologised, and we don't need it in the game. It's not what sport should be about. You don't need me to tell you. You have to set an example at the very top.
Was Josh Horrocks this week as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Because it came off the back of those. Yeah. So again, we're going back to...
Well,
everything that players are told not to do.
You cannot have a respect policy.
Yeah,
in the
which
game.
has just been relaunched
You
again.
can't keep going on about how bad the behaviour is on the touchlines of the community game if the people we look up to and admire and respect break those rules.
There's no reason to be in the referees, match officials' room. There's no
I don't know
reason
what it achieves, particularly at half time. What will it achieve?
And we've seen that occur recently with other coaches, haven't we? So
don't do it
on telly. So
do not do it.
You don't.
Please don't do it.
They're not going to change their minds. They're not going to go. Oh well, I'm going to even up the penalty count in the second half or whatever. Or send them off.
I have one other complaint.
It's not about X. Go on. What's it about?
When did we allow rolling mauls near the touchline?
Oh well, we push everyone out.
Why do we want to be like rugby union?
Lineouts are coming in.
It always used to be that when players from either side are touching the player who's moving, the tackle is complete. Now, and yet it says a lot about your defensive structure that you get enough people over there and you're all committed to each other and you all want to get possession back. But in too many games, I think we're allowing things to go that we haven't before. And three or four times you see people who almost be stopped, and then there's a second push into touch, but because their arm hasn't hit the ground, it's deemed not to be held, and you just think that would have been a penalty. What's changed? What's the edict that's changed?
Well, it's like the NRL now.
It don't look great.
No, the NRL are slightly concerned that everyone's getting banned for headshots again. It's like the Magic Weekend. They copied that off us, and now they're copying last year's headshot thing. Which we've forgotten about now. We don't.
I don't think it's a great look. No, that's just my opinion.
LG says there's a lot of dragging too.
Yeah. I think so. And yes, it's a technique to hold somebody up and be able to get two or three players in to push them towards touch. But I honestly thought, and if Mr. C was here, I would ask him that when somebody from the team in possession comes round and tries to stop their player, that is the end of a tackle. And if they're still in the field of play, held, play the ball. And if you keep dragging, penalty. But it don't look great.
No. Is anything else that's annoyed you this week?
I'm fine. I've got that out my system.
You're going to have your biscuits now?
Oh, yeah. Ricciarelli, produced in Tuscany.
Oh. I remember when they were going to, when I lived in Barnsley briefly, they were going to redevelop the town into the style of a Tuscan village. Right. I don't think it's quite happened yet, but...
Soft almond made to a traditional recipe, hand-rolled in icing sugar to give their shape and delicious sweet flavour that balances the bitterness of the almonds. It's posh Battenberg, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it then.
What have we done?
Nearly 7:15, so that's usually when we finish this.
And we've got less games to talk.
Fewer games. Yes. And now there's the Women's Challenge Cups on, and the wheelchair thing's on, and everything's on. So there will be a podcast from the women's launch when I edit that. But I'll put that up on Wednesday, I think. And then another one from the inclusion launch, I think I'll put up next week. But all the interviews are up to watch will be up on YouTube to watch at some point anyway, and Facebook. So
new magazine out Thursday to subscribers, all being well, depending on your postman. Friday in the shops. There are some exclusives in there. We don't go big on exclusive, but there is some stuff in there that you may not read elsewhere.
Let's cut to the chase. There's some exclusives in the magazine, and me writing some rubbish about telly. Do we know about Mal Reilly? Is that public knowledge? Or yeah. So as Phil says, good luck to him.
Yeah, we send him all our best wishes. He's not been well for quite a while, but he's hanging in there. And like Dougie Lawton, who was rightly feted on the BBC at half time, one of the absolute icons of our game.
Revered in Newcastle, as Peter Matautia mentioned.
Yeah, but one of the toughest guys I ever saw play.
Karen says, what's changed? The quality of the referees and linesmen. Even video refs are getting decisions wrong. Have they ever played the game before? Because it makes a difference. Well, some of the people on TV talk about Rugby League have played the game a lot, and they don't have a clue.
I'd like to throw that to somebody who used to be.
When he comes in, he might be in next week.
Hopefully will be next week.
Yeah. Are you all rubbish now, James? What we'll say. You were good, since you retired, have they all become rubbish?
When everybody said,
We know they watch this. We know match officials listen to this
No,
and watch this.
I think
we love you.
We've got a fabulous set of match officials.
We love you.
We couldn't exist without them.
No. Fev are back to winning. Weird, we can seemingly only do it in the cup, says LG. Yeah, but you get it to Wembley.
I think it might have had something to do with you had two proper halfbacks. Again, should you wish to read the magazine, in the column of the Featherstone coach, you'll read the halfbacks he's tried to get over the last 3 weeks, and how the fact that I think 7 of them he couldn't bring into the club. Ben Reynolds shouldn't have played yesterday medically, but he insisted that he wanted to, and Ryan Hampshire made his debut. So better times for Featherstone coming.
My finger's broken. I didn't get lots of people give me lots of sympathy. I should congratulate, because we are finishing, Archbishop Sentamu. They've got called academies now, aren't they? I can't get my head around this.
College of Academy.
In Hull, because I saw 2 Schools Cup finals on Thursday, and they won both of them against Outwood Freeston. I'm not having this Outwood buying all the schools thing. This is nonsense. Freeston of Normanton in the boys' year 9 final. I think that's the one my nephew played in. And in the girls, I think it was year 10 final. Looked really professional, both in terms of kit and how they played. So well done to them. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of their players in the future, either in the community game or perhaps with the Hull clubs, both boys and girls, because the girls played really well against Trinity of Leeds, who also, took their part in a very exciting final up until the end, where they just pulled away from it. So LG says, puts it down to Gadwin Springer, who's also back. Big things expected of Gadwin Springer in the Featherstone team coming forward. Right, that's it. We'll be back next week with stuff after the next round of Super League, which you've already seen. And I think that's it. There's nothing else going on apart from the magazine, which is not here, but it will be here next week, and it will be in shops. So go and buy it. And some people say the best rugby league magazine out there. Well, that's what they said on Tuesday.
Somebody did, didn't they?
They did, which was funny because they. Yeah, we're not going. No,
we're not going.
No. Right, here's a horn. Here's Ronnie. Where is Ronnie?
Was that the full-time hooter?
Yeah.
Biscuits.
There's Ronnie. Right, there's Ronnie. Waving goodbye, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy your week. Adios. What's coming up on the radio? We don't know, do we? Could be anything.
We know that Tony Collins and
no, I meant on rugbyleague.com.
Harry Jepson.
Oh, they're coming
interview.
Up. Oh, right,
up
there
at
you
8 o'clock.
Oh, there you go then. So if you listen to the radio, that's what's coming.
But
up.
I don't know what music is being played between now and then. I'm guessing Europe. The final countdown is on now.